My name's Mark Whiting, and I'm going to talk about parallel worlds, repeated initializations of the same team to improve team viability. We're going to introduce a technique that erases bad initial team dynamics through creating parallel versions of the same team and keeping their best version. This is work with some great students and with Michael Bernstein. Teams that start off on the wrong foot often end in fracture. And by this, I mean they end up in a state where they no longer want to collaborate with each other. Would a team be more viable if it could undo those initial interactional missteps and essentially try again, start over from scratch? And just to be clear, team viability here is a team's willingness to continue collaborating into the future. This is a commonly used concept in the teams and orgs literature. For in-person teams, we can never really answer. Would things have ended up differently if the team had had a different start? In online teams, however, history could be reset with something that we call two-way pseudonym masking. This is a collaboration environment that lets each individual see themselves as a consistent person, but others see them through pseudonyms. So conventional horse is known to fast frog as mighty pony, while fast frog is known to conventional horse as little snake. And they can use these names when they collaborate, and our system automatically converts them to the right name behind the scenes. And they can go on to do whatever collaborative task they need to. With this, we can create new identities, but we can also do it repeatedly, creating parallel worlds. These are independent teams with new team dynamics, but all with the same individuals creating the team. With this system, we can ask a question like, will the most viable team improve or regress to the mean? To answer this, we'll reconvene teams, that is, reestablish an earlier identity. And what we'll do is start off with several parallel rounds that have new identities each time, and then we'll reconvene one of those rounds, in particular the one that had the highest viability from that first set. And just to be clear, in all these rounds, we're measuring team viability in a survey after the round completes. So I'm going to talk about the best initial round, the reconvened round, and then the median of the other rounds being conducted. And as I said, I'm going to be showing this against team viability. And we find that the high viability teams don't lose out that viability when reconvened. And they're distinct from the median round. They're distinctly better, that is. Just to be clear, this is with NTurk participants in 24 teams, and they're performing an ad writing task. We've also excluded any teams that identified the manipulation that we're doing. Now, we can push this a little further. Does the least viable team also improve? And does it ever beat the most viable one? In other words, is doing a manipulation like this even worth it? So to look at this, we again have parallel rounds and reconvened rounds, but this time we reconvene both the lowest and the highest viability versions from those parallel rounds. So now I'll compare the initial highest and the later reconvened highest, and then the initial lowest and the later reconvened lowest team. And we see that all the teams improve over time when they're reconvened, but starting on the best foot was always better. That is to say that the later highest and the initial highest were statistically better than the later lowest. We also show that neither discourse patterns nor a performance metric by running the ads these teams produce on a real ad network show correlation with team viability. What we've shown is that this parallel world intervention can be used to reset teams so they start off on their best foot. And we show that although team viability tends to improve, the most viable teams keep their advantage over the others. So it's a worthwhile intervention when possible. And with this system, we believe remote organizations could extend this and form stronger teams without needing to change resources they already have. We also, in the paper, include recommendations and precautions to avoid abuse of this mechanism. Critically, our infrastructure is available for others to use if they're interested. I've been Mark Whiting, and I've been talking about parallel worlds. I'd like to thank all of our funders, but in particular, the incredible workers of Amazon Mechanical Turk and my great collaborators.